So, you know, Tucker Carlson, let's face it, he's the only person who's been telling the truth about Russiagate and the only person in mainstream media who's been telling the truth about Ukraine. And last night he had Jimmy Dore and and Glenn Greenwald on his show. First, let's watch the Jimmy Dore clip.
Now, are you keeping a list of all the things Putin is doing? Russia's very powerful. They control a lot of things. They overthrew our government. They committed a coup on America. They control the gas prices, and Russia's responsible for our inflation. And let me just tell you, last time I checked, Russia couldn't get their good vodka into Trader Joe's. So I don't think they're really controlling everything like they say they are, okay? The Democrats right now are in power. They have complete control of government. And like all politicians, they don't want to take the blame for anything. They want you to blame everybody and everything or anybody and anything for the pain that you're feeling right now, except blame them, the people with the power right now. And so that's why everything comes back to Putin, because Putin is a proxy for their Trump hate, right? And you said Larry Summers blamed January 6th on inflation, which is an old Clinton advisor. So what they don't want us to realize is that we have a unipolar government, right? So yes. If you vote for Joe Biden, you're voting for Goldman Sachs. If you Mitch McConnell, the same thing. You're voting for our oligarchy, True. And they don't want you to know that. And as soon as people wake up that we've been being screwed by the same billionaires that control Joe Biden, that control the Republican Party, that's what scares them. They don't want us to. They don't want me on your show talking to your audience, telling them that people on the left, we smell a rat. And we know that Joe Biden is completely controlled by the oligarchy and the corporations. And right now, the American people are paying the price. What are we paying the price for? Not for Putin's inflation, not for Putin's gas hike. This is Joe Biden's invasion. This is NATO's invasion. This is Joe Biden's policies. These are Joe Biden's policies that are wrecking the dollar, that are propping up the ruble to it's stronger than it's ever been, and they're blaming a foreign country. Imagine if Trump did that. They'd be making jokes about it every night on the nightly news. Of course, they're not. The nightly talk shows. But of course they're not. They're all coddling. You saw Jimmy Kimmel have to coddle that old man, the guy who probably got stuck in a couch before he left that place. This is and you know Joe Biden's not making the decisions. We all know that he's mentally impaired, and we all know that Kamala Harris isn't making those decisions because she also can't speak in clear sentences. So who is really running the country? Well, whoever runs the Democratic Party, which is a handful of billionaires, those are the ones. So if you're paying a higher price, they did a controlled demolition of our economy with the COVID lockdowns, and nobody wants to take responsibility for that. COVID lockdowns, which Johns Hopkins University proved saved 0 lives. They didn't make any impact on the death rate whatsoever, right? So that they don't want to take responsibility for that. They want you to blame your neighbor. They won't want you to be angry at the oligarchs or Fauci or Big Pharma or the media that controls you, that makes you think that essential medicines are poison. They want you to blame your neighbor. It's everybody is a Trumper or they're not. It's you're with us or against us, and that's the only message they have left. And then they have censorship left because they have failed. Tucker, why do you think it is that Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer are the leaders in the House and Nancy in the Senate, and Nancy is the leader because they're not leaders. Those people have negative charisma. I wouldn't ask Chuck Schumer directions to the freeway. Why are they the leaders? Because they're the ones who take the most money from the billionaire class that actually runs this country. They take the money from them and they disperse it to the other members of Congress, so they vote for them as leader, not because they're leaders, but because they're the most corrupt. Man, is that true? Great, Jimmy Dore. Great to see you tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So, there you have it. Great segment from Jimmy Dore. Did Joe Biden, he wants you to believe that Ukraine is the problem. He wants to divert all responsibility for the wrongdoing that's happening in this country, the baby formula shortage that Jimmy didn't talk about, but that's one of the things. You got inflation, and it was Biden's policy. It was Biden's policy of sanctions which is causing inflation, not anything else. And they're even trying to blame January. They're even trying to blame January 6th for inflation. Like they tried to blame the Canadian truckers for inflation before. Now they're blaming January 6th, and that is some real, populist messaging you're seeing from Jimmy right there. I know in regard to Jimmy running for president now, I don't know how successful he's gonna be, but I certainly hope he does it happens. I hope he does well. So now we're gonna watch the following segment that was on Tucker Carlson show with Glenn Greenwald on. So let me get that up.
For years and years and years, we've been told that wanting a border is racist. Only white supremacists want borders. Everyone else is an internationalist. Well, it turns out that's not true. It never was true, but the results are in it's completely untrue. Do you know who wants a border? Hispanic voters. In 2020, Donald Trump flipped Zapata County in Texas. That's 95% Hispanic. And last night, if you need more evidence in a special election, a Republican called Mayra Flores flipped a district in South Texas that's 85% Hispanic. No Republican has represented that district since 1870. So you have to ask yourself, why are so many self-described Latino voters voting for white nationalists? It's very odd. Glenn Greenwald has noticed this trend. He's an independent journalist. His work is on Substack. We're happy to have him join us tonight. Hey, Glenn. So how does this work exactly?
It is kind of odd that the media narrative holds that the Republican Party is devoted to a project of white nationalism and white supremacy, and yet at the same time, large numbers of Latino, Asian, Muslim, and Black voters are either slowly or rapidly migrating to the Republican Party, which you would think would make people question whether that narrative could possibly be true, but you would be wrong. They're not questioning it. They're essentially attacking those people by saying they're too dumb and too primitive to understand their self-interest.
The Democratic Party, and I just know this from personal experience traveling a lot, does seem like a party that's wholly dominated by and that caters exclusively to the instincts of 45-year-old, affluent, personally unhappy white women. That's the way it seems to me. So how is that the multiracial party exactly?
The split between the reality and what elite media and journalists and political people have been saying could not be wider. Under the Trump presidency, Trump was held up as this Hitler-like figure, one of the 2 or 3 most racist people who wanted to genocide all non-white people. He attracted more Black and more Latino and more Asian voters than any Republican in decades, and Joe Biden won for one reason and one reason only, because affluent suburban white women voted Democrat after voting for Republicans for a long time. It's the exact opposite of what the media has been claiming.
And it's provable because we have the election result. It's just too unbelievable. Glenn, great to see you. We will see you soon. Appreciate it.
So there you have it. They're talking about in South Texas. This woman, Mayra Flores, won the congressional district there. In the far south, like on the coastline of the Gulf of Mexico, near the border. No Republican has held that seat since 1870. And you're seeing Latinos leaving the Democratic Party because it's a corrupt party run by neoliberal elites, professional class, and the working class people. They've had enough. There's a left-right alliance in this country, and you're seeing like minorities. I mean, you'd think that no one would ever, minorities all must think the same. They all vote Democrat, but no, they're also fed up with the Democratic Party. They're working class people, and the Democratic Party doesn't speak to them anymore, and they're losing voters. And there's a left-right alliance in this country consisting of working class people, and you better wake up. So there you have it.